Good evening and welcome to the EKU Alumni Spotlight Series. I'm Dan McBride and I will be your host tonight as we continue our journey with some fascinating EKU alums from all around the country. We talk to different alums about some of the great things they're doing in their profession and out in the world, and we have another great show tonight. Before we get to tonight's guests, though, I do want to tell you about a couple of other things that are going to be coming up in the very near future. First up, this week on Thursday night, we have Alumni Bingo. If you enjoy playing bingo, this is a lot of fun. It's all done virtually, and it's an opportunity for you to play with some of your fellow EKU alums. If you would like to join us Thursday, 8 o'clock is the time for Alumni Bingo. You can visit the website and get more information. That is www.eku.edu/alumni or www.alumni.eku.edu. Just go to the alumni website and you can get more information on that. Also want to let you know about a couple of other guests that we have coming up on the Alumni Spotlight Series. We are looking forward to having Michelle Cole. We have talked a little bit about Michelle on this show previously. She is a costume designer for such TV shows as In Living Color and Blackish, and she is an award-winning designer. She is going to be with us later on this month. And also coming up, we have Bill Bryant with WKYT-TV in Lexington. Bill is one of the most respected journalists in the state of Kentucky and an EKU alum. Bill will be with us on December 8th, coming up in just about a month or so. So those are some of the upcoming shows we have in store for you on the Alumni Spotlight Series. I also want to let you know about something else that will be coming up in December. I can't give you too many details yet. Be watching for it. But if you enjoy cooking shows, then you're going to enjoy what we have coming up for you in December. And it's a regular feature that we'll be doing at least once a month, December, January, February, through the winter months and into the spring as well, as we do some cooking with the Colonels. That'll be coming up in just a few weeks. We'll have more information on that, so stay tuned. But tonight it is the Alumni Spotlight Series, and we are very honored tonight and very excited to have a special guest with us, a 1994 graduate of EKU. She got her degree in broadcasting, and she has certainly put that degree to good use. You've seen her on TV, on WKYT, on her series Out and About with DeAnn. And since 2009, she has been co-host of the Officer Don and DeAnn show on 98.1 The Bull in Lexington. We are very excited tonight to welcome to the show the award-winning DeAnn Stephens. DeAnn, welcome to the Alumni Spotlight Series.
What an intro. Very cool. Thank you, Dan.
It's great to have you here, and certainly you are. Our timing is right to have you on the show because this is a big week or a big couple of weeks for you. Tomorrow night is the big night, but for the second time, you guys have won the CMA Personalities of the Year. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was so funny when I got your email and you were like, the November 10th date might be good. And I'm kind of going, okay, that'd probably be really good. Of course, we didn't know then that we would actually have a big night tomorrow night, but we are with the CMAs coming up.
Yeah, and we'll talk a lot. I want to hear the story again about how you were notified because it's a great story. But this week, normally you would be in Nashville living it up because it's CMA week, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine a little bit ago on the phone who always goes with us to the CMAs. And I said, we should be getting our jeans and our boots on. We should be on Broadway in downtown Nashville right now for all the CMA pre-parties. There's one in particular we go to every single year at the Hard Rock, and it's always a fun one. But we're not there, and not many people are on Broadway right now, but so thankful that they're still doing the CMA Awards.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how it's going to work this year since people cannot be there in person.
So what they're going to do is the only people allowed in there are those that are actually performing. So when they sent us, our notification of, hey, you're not going to be able to come, the only people that'll be in there are those that are performing. The only nominees allowed in the building are those that are performing. And I don't know if you saw, or even if you're a country fan, but like Lee Bryce, it was just announced yesterday that he has COVID. He was supposed to sing and perform with our Kentucky girl, Carly Pierce. So he's not going to be in there. A lot of things are changing. It's a very different situation. Every day it's different. Now,
will you guys still get to be on virtually or something, or what will happen? How will they present you with your award?
I'm assuming what they'll do, Dan, is just pop our picture up there. They do a lot of pre-production for the CMAs. They send us all of this stuff to the radio station that they're hoping will pop up and show. But that's what they'll do. They'll just probably pop our picture up and they'll do it. Listen, we are nothing compared to all these country stars, okay? I'm surprised that they even mention our names on there. I'll take it. But they'll do something. What they've done in the past is pop our picture up, and then whatever artist is performing that's going into that commercial break, they'll say, congratulations to, small market or broadcast personality. That's what they normally do. When you guys won it in 2017, though, you were there, right? I was right there, honey. I didn't miss a second of it. And it's so cool, honestly. The difference is I've covered the CMAs 10, 11 years now on both the television and the radio side. And I've worked the red carpet many times, but I've never been invited to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a really cool experience for Officer Don and I to get to walk the red carpet. And we were on the stage, and the way they present it is the actual. I told you I happen to have.
There it is.
There we go. I got it off the bookshelf today. But the way they present it in 2017 is they have all of the award winners come out before the show, the broadcast award winners, and you get to actually go up, and the artist brings you a fake trophy. Those trophies that you see on the stage are not real. It's just a trophy. Yes. So they bring you the fake one, and you thank, everybody that helped get you there, and then you're quickly escorted off the stage because they want the real stars out there.
Yeah, but at least you get that moment on the stage, so that's fun. We had Lee Thomas Miller on a couple of weeks ago, who's a songwriter in Nashville.
I know who Lee Thomas Miller is. Isn't he from Nicholasville? He's from Jersey.
Yes, and EKU alum, and he's won a couple of CMA awards, and he talked about how he's really missing the live music and the opportunity to do the award shows and things like that. So a little bit of a bummer, as if 2020 hasn't been a big enough bummer that we can't enjoy all those things.
We've been talking to a lot of the CMA artists this week on online and on the air as we head into the CMA tomorrow. And that's what they've all really been talking about, Dan, is just how music is truly therapy for a lot of people. I mean, I know I turn everything off here and turn the music up at the house a lot of times, and people are missing it. They really are. And I understand, I get their frustration with it. And a lot of the artists, you know, they're trying to do fundraisers and stuff because the people that they work with, those that they're on the road with, they can't make any money right now, you know? So everybody's trying to feed their families and everything else and aren't able to perform.
Yeah. All right. Now tell us the story. You guys actually are officially notified that you had won on October 27th. So a little over a week ago. Tell us kind of how that happened.
So what they do, we get an email from Brendan is his name with the CMAs, and he sends it to all of the nominees. And he says, okay, tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow or Tuesday. No, actually, it was about 4 days before, because I knew, and I didn't want to tell, like, I didn't even want my husband to know. Like, I didn't want anybody asking me about it, you know? So I kept it quiet for a while. I did tell my mom and my sister, I think. But they say on Tuesday during your air shift, if you are the winner, you will be getting a call from an artist. So we didn't know, if we were getting a call. We didn't know who was calling. But the funny thing is we knew, Dawn asked me at about 9, you know, we start getting ants in our pants around 9 o'clock because we've been on the air since 5:30. And Dawn said, now what time, do you remember what time they called last time? Actually said, what time did Keith call last time? Because it was Keith Urban who called us for our first trophy. And I said, gosh, you know, Dawn, I think it was past our air shift. I think it was like 10:15 or 10:30. We just happened to still be in there because we thought for sure we hadn't won since we didn't get a call by 10 o'clock. And he goes, oh, okay. Well, then a few minutes later, I start getting a text from both bosses, and they were like, where are you all? Why aren't you answering the phone? So immediately I knew, you know, I said, oh, somebody must be trying to call us. And sure enough, Dawn was in the bathroom. We were going to get that call anytime soon. So we were both pretty shocked about it. And it was Luke Combs. Yeah,
Luke Combs was the one who called you this year, which that's also going to be Keith Urban and Luke Combs. That's 2 pretty good calls.
Yeah, I think so too. And Luke is such a cool guy too. You know, he was just, when did he play Rupp? Not long ago, he played Rupp Arena, and, you know, we got to be back there with him. And he just, one of his first shows he played was Red, White, and Boom, our show for 98 Won the Bull a few years ago. And he actually had come to the show the year before to see Eric Church because he was a huge Eric Church fan, well before anybody knew who Luke Combs was. So he's had a lot of success and very deserving of it.
Well, we have a lot to cover, and I want to talk more about the award and stuff, but I kind of want to do things in a little bit different order. Let's talk about kind of your career path and how you got to where you are now. Let's talk about after you graduated from EKU. I think was YMT your first job out of college?
YMT was my first job. I graduated EKU in December of '94, and I took that extra semester because I interned in DC for the Senate broadcasting system with Senator Ford my senior year. So in December, I think, it was November or December, I interviewed at YMT, and they hired me on to begin in January. And so here, my mom and my dad, you're moving me to Hazard, Kentucky. And I remember saying to them, I'll be back in a year. I'm just putting my year in and then I'll be back. I mean, I'm not staying there. And 2.5 years later, I left there kicking and screaming because I absolutely fell in love with Hazard, Kentucky. I did. The mountains and the people there. How cool. Y'all are so on that. That's Neil Middleton. And Neil and I, he's the general manager now, but he and I were reporters together, and we worked for the late Tony Turner, who was my first news director and such a huge inspiration to me. But my time in Hazard, such a special time for me, and I still keep in touch and love everybody that I worked with there in the mountains and all my sweet friends.
And so you made the jump directly from YMT to KYT?
I did. I started off as weekend reporter at YMT, and then I moved into morning anchor, and I anchored there. I anchored mornings there for maybe a year and a half, or maybe 2 years. And I loved it. I mean, mornings are just me, like as much as I go, oh, I'm so tired, I got to get up so early, I'm going to be up anyway. So I might as well be working. But I love doing mornings there. And from there, I interviewed at WKYT because I wanted to come home. I mean, Lexington is home for me. And at WKYT, Jimmo was the news director there. He scared me to death because, that was like big time to me. Holy cow, I get to work at WKYT, like I grew up watching Sam and Barb. Like it was a big deal for me to get a job at WKYT. I was so excited. And they hired me to be the morning reporter, which is the exact position I wanted. Most people hate that position. That's all I wanted. But at the time, it was all features. And so I love doing features. And the funny thing is I went from morning reporter, I think for 8 months. And then they put me as morning anchor when Holly Morris left, and she is still there. But I was morning anchor, I think, for 7 years. And then I did all kinds of different shifts here and there. But my first love, obviously, are the features, which I'm blessed enough to get to come back years later and get to do now. So
how did the radio thing come in? Because you had been a TV person your whole career. How did you make the transition, or what were the circumstances that led to that?
This is a funny story. I was anchoring at KYT, and they had asked the anchors to fill in. The female host for the show had left. And so they were trying to fill that position, but they had asked all of us to come in and take a turn. So I had Tuesday mornings. And on Tuesday mornings, I would go in and I would host the show back then it was Carl and Scott. And they were so welcoming to me and so nice and so fun and made it so easy. And the first day I did it, they were like, would you ever do this? Lord, no, I would never do that. I'm not doing radio, like I work hard to get into TV. I'm not doing this. And the next week, the boss came in and he said, after we were done with the show, he's like, DeAnn, have you ever thought about radio? And again, I'm like, no, I haven't. And I think it was maybe like the third week, Mike Jordan, still my boss, said to me, he pulled me in his office. He's like, hey, I got an offer you can't refuse. And really that offer was more time with my kids. And Kennedy and Cameron were very young. And I had always wanted to be their home. And I never do that when I was working, long hours and long shifts in television. So that was it for me. Michael said to me, hey, Dee, you're going from working 8, 10 hours, sometimes 12, depending on if it's breaking news. You come in here, you do the show, you can go be the homeroom mom. You can read at Kennedy's school, and you can, and at that time, Kennedy was the only one, already in elementary school. But it was I remember sitting at Wendy's, of all places, there by KYT, with a dear friend of mine, and we made a list of pros and cons because I was struggling. Like, I can't believe I'm giving up this television career that I really worked hard for to do this. What am I doing? And the spending time with my kids. That's where I was. And I thank God every day for helping me make that decision, because it was the best decision I could have ever made.
Well, and the great thing for you is you were able to eventually come back and still do some TV. I mean, not news TV, but still do your features.
Well, and I have to tell you, Dan, because when it was Chris Wilson then at WKYT, when he first asked me to come back, I was like, I don't think so. I had gone from hard news TV to crazy radio personality. You know what I mean? That was a hard transition for me too. And Michael, my radio boss, would say, "Hey, this isn't TV. You don't have to be stiff. Like, you need to relax and have fun." And that was really hard for me to do in the beginning. And when Mr. Mossman had first asked me to consider coming back, I'm like, I don't know that I can do that. You know, what it would have to be something like a feature position. And sure enough, they made one and created Out and About. And I love what I do for WKYT. It really, it's fun. It's uplifting. It's positive. It's great people in our community. And so that really has been a blessing. That little part of the day that I have with them is truly a blessing to our family here. We love it.
Well, you and Don have a very good chemistry, and it comes across really well on the radio. And so, I mean, obviously it helps when you have someone you're very comfortable working with.
Don, it's so funny because we're not in the studio and he still manages to just drive me nuts. You know, I mean, how do you do that? Like, we're not even in the studio together, but you still drive me crazy, Don. I love Don. Don and I are very close. A lot of people, it's kind of a joke. They think we're married. We are not married. I'm very happily married to my husband, Ed. But Don and I, we have a funny relationship because we truly are like brother and sister. I mean, we fight like brother and sister. And we love big too. I would do anything in the world for him and he would for me as well. But I always remind him I'm the one that does all the work. As long as everybody knows I'm the one that does all the work, you know, and he knows it.
And you mentioned working from home, and I would think, particularly in radio, there are a lot of advantages to getting to work from home because you can essentially roll out of bed and roll into your studio, and you know, you don't have to get in the car and drive to work or do any of that stuff. Boom, you're just there.
You know what, Don always says that I do the show from my bed, which is not true. I actually, this is the studio. I do it from right here in the office. And I said, well, if I did it from home, then I would at least have like a microphone drop down to me, you know? I have to say, my mom is watching. Mom, I'm so proud of you. She figured out how to get on there. Thanks, Mom, for your support. Oh, and my sister. This is fantastic. Hey, at least we have two people watching, Dan. This is good. Yeah, Don always says you do the show from your bed, and obviously I don't. I do like working from home. I had been doing that some before COVID hit, and what I have learned is they probably are getting at least 3 to 4 times the amount of work out of me working from home, because they can text or call and say, hey, can you run in and voice this real quick? Or, hey, can you jump on a Teams meeting? Or, hey, whereas before that didn't happen, but now it does. And I'm okay with it. I enjoy it. I love being here. And I miss being with Don and my Rokai buddy. Oh, I miss that. Oh, don't tell any stories.
Yes, that's what I want to do next. Let's go back to college now, because I do want to talk a little bit about your EKU days. You're a Lafayette grad, so you're from Lexington. How did you end up at EKU?
So my mom graduated from Transylvania, and she wanted me to go to Trancey. We went to visit Trancey, and they did not even have communications as a major back then. Western had a great print program, but Eastern had the very best broadcasting program. And so when we went to visit, I remember thinking, if this is what I'm going to do, this is where I need to go. And I know at the time, a lot of my friends, I think, were going to, bigger schools. And the funny thing is, I don't know if it's funny or not, but they all ended up transferring, EKU, which is smaller schools. And I used that a little bit because, as you know, Kennedy, my freshman at EKU, I told her that story. I said, Kennedy, yes, I'm so proud of her. I told her, I said, Kennedy, a lot of people will start off at bigger schools and they're going to end up right with you at EKU because the class size and the attention you get from your professors, and it's just a one-on-one thing there, whereas you don't get that necessarily in a bigger school.
So you came to Eastern knowing that broadcasting is what you wanted to do.
I did know that. I knew that at my high school newspaper. It said, who do you want to be? And it said the next Barbara Walters. So I've known for a while I wanted to do television and broadcasting. My path has just taken a little bit of a different turn, and I'm thankful that it has, because I'm happier than I've ever been in my career, and so blessed. Like, I truly am so grateful that I get to do what I do. I can promise you this. If I didn't have the experience I had at EKU, I wouldn't be where I am. And I use that too with Kennedy. I told her, I said, she's majoring in construction management, which EKU has great. And we're discussing colleges. I said, Kennedy, when I went to Eastern, they had Madison County KCCN, Farewellman, John Tech, some of my favorites there. And KCCN, it was hands-on. Like I got to be on TV in college. I remember I would get my roommates and we would run and be like, Madison County Cable News is on, I'm going to be on TV. It's very exciting. And Lord, I would hate to see those videos now. But the hands-on experience I had, and the people that were there, the professors, my freshman year, Dan, I walked into mass comm class. It might have been mass comm, I guess, 101. And I remember sitting there and I was nervous because it was like my first day of classes, and in walks this beautiful woman, and she sits her stuff down and she says, hello, class. And I'm like, that voice. I know that voice. She's like, my name is Mindy Shannon, and I am your professor. She was our instructor. I about flipped. I couldn't believe it. I ran to my dorm at Walters Hall, and I called my mom and dad and said, you're never going to believe who my teacher is. But those are the kind of people that, knew better than anybody how to talk to someone about being in broadcasting. They were in the field. Wellman, all the experience he had and has, and just, I loved my time there in those classes that I had. The hands-on really made a difference for me.
Yeah, and not only, I know, did you get to do a lot of things in the broadcasting department, but you also were pretty active on campus. I know you had a pretty active social life as well.
I'm not sure who's doing your research. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun at EKU. I did. I was involved in Greek life. I was a theta there. And then you just saw Anissa, right, your row cat buddy. I was a rush counselor a little bit later on. And I was involved with the Panhellenic Council. April Pergram and I served together. She was a DC. And this is the thing I stress to my daughter I'm like, it doesn't matter what sorority you're in. You make friends with everybody there on campus. And so I was lucky enough to get to do that and involved. And I think I did serve on the student senate for like one semester. I probably wasn't the best. I mean, I was busy being social then. I was sad the family dog was closing down. And I did like my time downtown.
Yes. Well, and most EKU students who have been through here can say the same thing. Now, you mentioned a minute ago Kennedy being a freshman here. When she was making her decision, I know obviously probably you wanted to see her come to Eastern, but did you also want to let it be her choice, I'm sure?
Without question. And the thing that helped her make that choice, and I never pushed it in the beginning. I would talk to her. We have great conversations. And I would say, look, Kennedy, here's what I did. Here's why I went to EKU, because my major was broadcasting. So she wanted to do, she was trying to decide between construction management and interior design. So a friend of mine in Lexington, Amy Mellinger, does both. And Amy said, let her spend the day with me. And so Amy took her to an interior design group in Lexington and for half the day. And then the other half, she took her to a construction group in Lexington. And one of the young men who were working there in the construction office had just graduated from EKU and with construction management. And so he was able to talk to her, and she came home that night and said, Mom, I'm going to EKU.
Yes.
And so, that helped make her decision on the program and the hands-on program that they do there. She already posted, she called today about a test she has in construction management. She's like, I have to know everything on this, labeled. And I'm like, well, Kennedy, you're going to have to know that when you have the job, what you're doing too. And she's like, Mom, I know, but she really does. She loves the program so far.
So is she doing an on-campus experience, or is she studying virtually, or?
She's very much on campus, Dan. She's very much on campus, and she is loving it. And, when people say, how's Kennedy like in college? I'm like, she loves it. She loves it. And I'm so thankful that she does. I called my mom. In the beginning of our college experience, Kennedy is my first to go away, lived in the dorm. And I remember calling Mom and saying, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you didn't have Life 360. Because are you familiar with the Life 360 app? It's an app that you can follow, where our whole family is on it, and you can see where they are at all times. Well, I was seeing that Kennedy was definitely getting to college. Are you frozen, Dan? I'm going to keep talking. Kennedy was definitely getting the most out of college because she was getting in, in the middle of the night. But when I talked to my mom, I said, I'm so glad you didn't have Life 360, because it's terrifying me watching her and what she's doing. I think Dan is frozen. I think Steve's going to pop in. Oh, wait, Dan, Steve.
Sure.
Steve, this is such a cool little thing how you guys do this. Like, there's a backstage, there's a back room. We got people. I can see things popping up over here. Your mic's not on.
Again, I thought I had unmuted. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I feel like I'm working with Don again. Your mic's not on.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I love it. Well, and I actually added Live 360 for my family. I've got a young one, and then of course my wife and I as well, and we use that. And boy, it's a trip. You can see, and I fear, was there a lot of First Street that your mom might have seen on yours?
Well, definitely so. Definitely so. And that Life 360 is a blessing, and it's a curse too, I feel like. But I am so glad that my parents did not have that, because I did enjoy. Let's see, there was Tazwell's, Family Dog. You're not familiar. Are you familiar with these places?
Well, so for two reasons. I mean, of course, I've worked with Eastern for 18 years, and so some of that. But then additionally, about I guess about 2 months back now, DeAnn, we did a full series of events each night of the week through this platform where we actually went back and looked at the nightlife scene at EKU or in Richmond over the course of the decades. And so we did the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then 2000s. And so we went and revisited some of those most popular spots. And our viewership for that was great because, you know, every alum we talk to either talks about their nightlife scene when they were at EKU or Ma Kelly's Kitchen. Those are the two things we hear about.
Yeah. Well, and here's what I tell Kennedy. You got to have a balance. You have to have a balance. I want you to go to college and I want you to have fun and I want you to make the most of it. But your grades better not suffer. So there just has to be a good balance. As long as you can figure out, you can party here, but you got to keep up with the grades. Then we'll be all right. I won't say anything about it. You know,
Sure.
I think that's what you have to do with kids.
I love it. Well, DeAnn, I've got a few questions that we've kind of gotten from the audience. If you'd like, we can maybe bump into some of those. And so let's do some of those. From Michael Hay, one of our most committed alums. Obviously, he talks about your great career and representing the field well. He wanted to ask if you felt like your career path was typical for communications and broadcast students.
First of all, I love you, Michael Hay. We were there together at EKU, by the way. Has my path been typical? I think it has. And honestly, I say that because so many people that I was at EKU with, Dean, Darnell, all those folks, you know, they're at KYT still now as photographers, or maybe somebody's in production, or, you know, the hands-on program that we had there at EKU, I think served us all well, and they've all done very well in you know, their career. So I would say yes, Michael Hay.
I like it. I think we find that a lot
pop up. That's cool.
Yeah, I think we find a lot of our students that they do get, like you mentioned earlier, the hands-on experience that they need while at the university. But we've also made a commitment to ensuring that the students get the hands-on practical experience they need, or professional experience they need, actually in the field. And that's through a network of contacts in the various professional fields that our faculty members have, and they can help make that handoff pretty easily.
Well, and we had the conversation the other day with Kennedy, and she said, Mom, I have to get, I don't know if she said like 310 or 340 hours in the field. And she's like, how am I going to do that? And I still want to be, you know, she's a camp counselor at Pepper Hill in the summers. And she, you know, she's like, how am I going to be able to do all this and still graduate on time? And I'm like, Kennedy, what they're teaching you right now is you're going to learn more in the field than you will anywhere. And the fact that they're making you do that, they're aware. They know. That's where you're going to learn. So, you know, I interned at, it was Double Q back then, Cruiser, and Katie Klein, Katie. And when I was at EKU, I would get up and leave my dorm at 4:30 in the morning to be at the radio station on Winchester Road. It was an internship.
Maybe you didn't go to First Street a lot.
Oh no, honey, I could operate well after a night on First Street. Don't you worry, you have a little more faith in me. But you know, that was all hands-on experience. It was just being right there in the middle of it and seeing how a newsroom works at Double Q, because back then they had a newsroom, you know, in the radio station. Things are a little different now.
All right, we've got another one from Dale Morgan. He said, which do you like most, TV or radio?
Great question, Dale Morgan. I'm so blessed to get to do both, but honestly, I think I found my niche in radio. I'm so thankful I get to do the features though, because that's also kind of like, you know, I wouldn't want to give that up. I love doing that as well. But radio just kind of fits my personality a little more. It's just a little more lighthearted and fun. And I feel like you can really be yourself you know, I like radio. It's so odd to say.
That's great. All right, here's another one. Ann wants to know how the advancements in technology changed your job over the years.
And right before we got started, I'm like, to my 15-year-old, Cameron, are you going to be on standby? Because here's what's funny. My husband does a Bible study on Tuesday nights at 7, and he normally does it in here. So we're trying to set up on the laptop in there for him to do his Bible study on Zoom and for me to do this. And so we're like, Cameron, can you come help us? The advancements far outweigh my ability to keep up with them in technology. And since COVID, honestly, I had to learn all of the, like, how to do the Zooms, how to record the Zooms, how to transfer those to the television station. We've got microphones around here, like all this stuff. Currently, we're trying to do something today because this mic isn't hooking into this phone. So technology, it should be my friend. Currently, it's not. Sometimes it's so advanced that I can't keep up with it, but it has definitely changed. And I could work. Yeah, love-hate relationship for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And then I have just a question to ask, and we'll bring Dan back in. I think he's here now, and I'll make the transition back to Dan. But my question was, because you spoke about COVID and then the environment's changed during that time period. But my question is, it seems like there has been less music produced or released in the last 6 months than typical. And I don't know if that's something that you've seen as well, or am I off base there? But you talked about it being therapeutic and important. And I think that, you know, everybody likes new music on some level. And so I wondered if that was the case.
Well,
we did today with John Party, and that's going to air tomorrow. And John was talking about the music that he's now producing from home. So many of these artists are doing things from home now, and they're doing it on a cell phone. They're doing it wherever they can. And they're writing. I don't know that as much of it is being produced, but what is happening is they are writing up a storm. And a lot of them that we talk to, you know, this has helped their writing. Of course, they have more time to do it. Do you all hear that noise? That's my little Yorkie banging the door, trying to get out. Reese, come over here and stop. So sorry. I thought it was going to be the German Shepherd that was going to be barking, but it's actually the little one causing the ruckus. And I think all of them are ready to get back to making music. I'm ready to get back to the concert.
You know, when we had Lee Thomas Miller on, the night we had him on the show, he had been on all day on Zoom writing songs with Brad Paisley before he came on with us. So, yeah, they're making it work.
Okay.
They're doing what they've got to do. Steve, you're great. Step in for Dan.
It was our question and answer segment. I've stepped in, and now I'll finish. Bye, Dean.
Thanks, buddy.
Speaking of technology not being my friend, we've had network issues all day on campus, and they got to me finally. All of a sudden, everybody was gone. But thanks for you guys keeping it going. Let's talk a little bit about some of the people you've got to interview. You've had an opportunity to interview a lot of the big time stars. Do you have a favorite or somebody that stands out over the years?
Of course, I have a favorite. It's Garth Brooks. And let me tell you why. When I was a freshman at EKU, one of my sorority sisters, and still one of my dearest friends, Katina Sarah Kasanis, she and my mom took Tina and I to Naples, Florida for spring break. My freshman year, as I remind Kennedy, I didn't go with all my friends to spring break. My mama took us. Per my daddy's instructions, I'm sure. But the whole way there, Tina played Garth Brooks. And we're like, well, who is this guy? Why do you keep playing? We don't even like country music. That was my freshman freshman year at EKU. And funny because I finally, 20 years later, got to tell him that story. And the first time I met him, I'm like, you are the reason I even like country music. And Garth says, he has held this trophy, by the way. And I have a picture of him holding our trophy, our CMA. And it's probably one of the most cool things, because what he said to Don and I when we were doing that interview, this was back in 2017 when we won this, he said, I'm not sure if you all are aware of how very awesome it is to win one of these. And for Garth Brooks to say, that to you, it was just a very cool thing. He truly is one of the nicest guys ever. He just is so down to earth. You can't even imagine how kind he is. And Trisha is the same.
Yeah, and when it comes to CMA awards, I imagine Garth has his own room for his CMA awards because he's won plenty.
He has plenty. We did a dinner that year, and my husband tells this story all the time because he went with me to the CMA nominee dinner. And at the end of that dinner, everybody was leaving, and Garth is standing on the corner there in Nashville. He's like, "Hey, can anybody give me a ride? Anybody?" I'm like, "What? I'll give you a ride." I didn't want to seem too anxious. But that's just kind of the guy he is. Like, he's just a cool human.
Is there is there one interview Garth is pretty much the pinnacle, I would think, but is there still one interview out there that you would like to do or like to get to do?
Well, I would probably, my other music love is Justin Timberlake. Like, I love Justin Timberlake. I love his music. I tell Alexa all the time I got to watch it because she'll start talking to me over here to play Justin Timberlake when I'm not listening to 98.1 The Bull, of course. But I think he would just be really fun to talk to. And his music, man, the way he choreographs his dancing to his music, like, that's therapy to me, I just wish I could dance like that.
Yeah, I think JT's one of those guys that even guys would love to meet. He just seems like one of those guys who'd be fun to be around.
Just super cool. And he puts on an amazing show. He just really, his concert is off the charts.
Well, I know you have early mornings and you have bachelorettes to get to. So we won't keep you on here all night. I just want to say again, congratulations on the award, and thank you so much for being here tonight. It's been a lot of fun hearing your stories and talking about your career, and I know those who have tuned in have enjoyed it, and we truly appreciate it, and we look forward to continuing to hear you on the air for many, many years to come.
Hey, Dan, when I got your email, I was so honored that you asked. And I appreciate that. I loved my time at EKU, and I love the fact that my daughter is a freshman there now. And I really am honored that you asked, and I'm a proud EKU alum.
That's what we love to hear. DeAnn Stephens, thank you so much for being with us tonight, and get some rest so you can be up early in the morning.
Tomorrow's a big day. Make sure you watch the CMA Awards.
Tomorrow night. Good deal. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
DeAnn Stephens, 1994 graduate of EKU. She's our guest tonight on the Alumni Spotlight Series. We thank you for tuning in and want to remind you we've got a couple other shows coming up later this month. We are working on the Michelle Cole segment, which we hope to have Thanksgiving week. We'll have more details on that coming soon. Michelle's busy working on a couple of TV shows right now in Hollywood. And because of COVID, they are having to scramble and get as many episodes shot as they can while they can. And so her schedule's changing from day to day, but it looks like right now we're hopefully going to have her on Thanksgiving week, and we'll let you know as soon as we get that confirmed. And also coming up on December 8th, we will have Bill Bryant, EKU broadcasting major. Also, he got his degree at EKU and, of course, turned that into a great career at WKYT-TV in Lexington. And we will talk to him about his career as well. Coming up Thursday night, it's Alumni Bingo. if you love bingo and you want to play with some of your fellow alums, we hope that you will check that out on the EKU alumni webpage and join us for that. So lots more to come as far as the Alumni Spotlight Series. We will be doing a couple of these each month. Every couple of weeks we'll have one. And just watch your emails and your notifications for upcoming episodes. Again, thanks to Steve Greenwell for jumping in during the technical slip up we had here. And thanks to Alex Handeman, who's pushing all the buttons and controlling everything behind the scenes for their work tonight on the show. Until next time, I'm Dan McBride saying good night and go Big E.